Hey loves, it's Britt, and in this video I'm talking about Saturn conjunct to Uranus in Synastry. So if you have your Saturn conjunct to someone's Uranus or vice versa. So this is a really interesting aspect, and often, these outer planet contacts aren't even brought up in Synastry, but they're definitely relevant when there is a bit of an age gap between people. And that can even just be a few years or so, a difference in age. This aspect can really show a lot of karma being worked out, but also this aspect can show like a rebirth of creativity and like a structuring of creativity as well. So, yeah, it's a really funny aspect to see. The Saturn person can see the Uranus person as a bit of a rebel. Maybe even at times they can feel a bit like shocked at how the Uranus person feels about things, how they act, how, like, especially their ideas about things can feel overly progressive or even downright insane to the Saturn person. The Saturn person can definitely regard the Uranus person as completely insane and out of touch with structure and discipline and, what they perceive to be like what you must do in life in order to be successful or be a good person. The Uranus person just does not follow the same standards as the Saturn person in those areas. And the sign position of this conjunction will really tell a lot about what the Uranus person is helping the Saturn person break free from. So that's really like the karmic mission of this aspect is the Uranus person is helping the Saturn person break free from restrictions, from limitations, whether these are just unconscious karmic patterns in their own mind or whether these are actually external circumstances. The Uranus person is helping the Saturn person break free of karma, negativity, the shackles of, their own karma and their own, what they haven't been truly seeing in themselves, if they've been operating in sort of a negative way towards their own Saturn, or if they haven't been doing the work they're required to do, the Uranus person is going to come and shock them into this awakening. Now, that might not always be pleasantly received by the Saturn person. So these are very differing energies, right? Saturn is like, the more Capricornian energy of structure and stability and security and fears and where we actually are more fearful and where we are more hesitant. And it also shows our karma and our lessons as well and what we must do, or even though we might resist doing it. Now, Uranus is entirely different. Uranus is where we're rebellious. It's where we do not give a fuck, right? And so having this happen in a conjunction is a very interesting dynamic. And, Uranus too is also a part of our genius, really. When we are channeling something from higher, from spirit, from source, Uranus is going to show that unique level of genius that we have, as far as like with what we can do with this is we can like somehow help the collective. So the Uranus person actually benefits from this as well. So they're both getting a dose of what they might need actually in order to become more effective. So the Uranus person is getting a dose of reality, and the Saturn person might in fact regard the Uranus person as a genius, even if they also see them as completely crazy at times. They do also see their genius and they see their potential and they see where they might need to be more grounded in their approach. So the Saturn person can also act as, a bit of a mentor for the Uranus person and say, look, you've got some really great ideas, but you're a little bit scattered. You're a little bit, having no regard for any sort of security or systems or whatever. I'm going to show you how to actually get your ideas out there in a more effective way. So this aspect can actually work really well in a business partnership because, like I said, these are impersonal energies. The outer planets, I mean, you're still going to feel this very personally, but it is, in a sense, a more impersonal contact where we're helping each other on this level of like, yeah, it's not so much personal issues, although the Saturn person will feel it more personally because Saturn is the more closer planet to the personal planets, and also Saturn is kind of like such a sensitive sore spot with these fears and inadequacy feelings. So I mean, it is definitely personal. But as far as the Uranus person doesn't really take personally the Saturn person's judgment of them or, the Saturn person thinking that they're a bit eccentric or crazy or whatever. The Uranus person kind of just lets it roll off them. And they maybe even do take a step back at times and think, well, maybe I could listen to some of what they're saying. Not all, but some. And so they both really can become more effective with this conjunction because it is like two very differing energies meeting, and it can definitely be helpful in those ways that I've said, where the Saturn person is just totally going to go through a mass awakening, and they might birth something into the world because of their association with the Uranus person. And actually, the Uranus person might as well ground down some of their more far out ideas or far off ideas and be able to more effectively use their genius, right? So it does end up being helpful, but it is, because of the differing energies, it is difficult too. It definitely can be difficult because the Uranus person can feel like the Saturn person is, the stick in the mud or the bore or the, always fearful, always thinking of all these problems and, kind of a drag, right? Dragging them down in this part of them where they really will not be dragged down. So they, it can be kind of annoying. They usually don't take it on, but they can still feel like, maybe I don't want to be too close to the Saturn person all the time because they're kind of, they're kind of a wet blanket, or they're kind of, they just give me the ick, right? Because they just don't, either they don't respect my freedom, right? Because Uranus is all about freedom too, and the Saturn person, maybe doesn't understand their need to be completely not tied down by anyone or anything. And then on the other side, the Saturn person can feel like the Uranus person is like just completely, like I said, like a wacko. Like they're just, they have no regard for anything morally right, or, as far as the Saturn person perceives, right? They feel like the Uranus person is just this like crazy person, right? And so there can be a lot of judgment coming from the Saturn person, and they might just decide, what, I'm looking for someone more stable. I'm looking for someone with ideas about life and values that are more similar to what I feel is right. And you, Uranus person, even though you've taught me a lot, I just don't see how this could work out long term with your erratic energy and behaviors. So that's on the negative side, like what could potentially happen. Now you have to look at everything else, because if there's other compatibilities and other strong contacts between the more personal planets and, looking at the composite chart, this can be a more minor interplay. But it does definitely have a bit of that energy exchange going on of how I've described, even if it's more in the background of, other stronger contacts. So the other really good potential of this aspect is creativity Because like I said, the Saturn person can ground the Uranus person's ideas into something real and tangible, but then the Uranus person can help the Saturn person break free from shackles of inferiority or self-doubt or fear of failure and stuff like that. And then they can actually become more effective in dealing with their life path and where they're going in life, their life lessons. So it definitely can be a very favorable contact. I'm just thinking in general, like Saturn ruling over the 10th and Uranus ruling over the 11th, just in, the natural rulerships. And that is kind of the connotation of this aspect, really. That is where the awakening can happen. Now, you want to personalize it by looking at the synastry and where it's falling in each other's houses and what sign, but that's kind of the energy. So I'd love to know what you've felt with this aspect, if you've had it in synastry. I know it's just not talked about enough. Let me know in the comments, you guys, and thank you for your request. This was requested. Thank you so much for your request, you guys. Let me know in the comments more requests you have. And yeah, we'll talk soon. Okay, bye.